13th day of April 2022. It's a Wednesday. You definitely know what business we're about to do now. Why Leaderboard series. My guest is already seated. If you're joining us on Facebook, kindly drop a like on there, share it so your friends and family can also join in. You don't have to be greedy on this. So much to learn today. For the next hour, it's going to be fun and exciting, trust me. Now, for the sake of my first-time listeners, Why Leaderboard series is YFM's innovative radio programming content. It was created to develop the youth and provide inspiration for all our listeners, okay? Now, stats reveal that Ghana's population is young with about 61%, being 30 years and below. Now, the ILO, that is International Labour Organization's Youth and Future Workers Survey, shows that about one-third of the youth in emerging and developing countries view their future work life with fear and uncertainty, especially Ghana, because there's not much to really learn from. You know, you see people driving the cars, people occupying huge positions in the top companies. I don't know how they got there. People won't really share. And when you ask them, they tell you, oh, it's God. But then we decided we're going to break away from the norm and bring these experienced people, these personalities in the studio to share their real life stories. So they are not living any bit of their lives unturned. They will just tell us all. YFM is Ghana's #1 youth and urban station. We have year-on-year dominance in youth radio programming, and that is certified by the Geopol. We therefore deemed it a big responsibility a while ago to add to the bouquet of creative and informative content on our station. A show that will host leaders, okay? Achievers in various sectors, and then industries in Ghana, and then beyond. And I stress on the beyond, because in bringing hope, meaning, development, and leadership coaching tips to our vibrant listenership, first on radio, and then across our digital platforms. So moving on straight to the deal for this morning, my guest on the Leaderboard series has spent a considerable number of years in the field of international education, okay? She's worked and studied in Spain, in Germany, in Ethiopia, Brazil, and the United States of America, as well as traveled extensively across 5 countries, spanning over 65 countries, okay? 5 continents, sorry. Spanning over 65 countries. Now, she has managed study abroad programs and international branch campuses of U.S. institutions, both in Europe and then Africa. While living in Madrid, okay, back in Spain, and working as chief counselor of the students for Syracuse University, she simultaneously developed an organization, Voices of Change, okay, that was dedicated to helping students of color cope with discrimination outside the United States of America. She has furthermore been a consultant to several educational institutions focused on international education initiatives such as the Stanford University, Dartmouth University, or Dartmouth College, and the Council of International Education, CIEE, the world's largest international education exchange organization. Having lived in Accra since 2004, officially 17 years, I think. She spent her first decade as the Deputy Director of New York University's NYU Accra Civ Global Site, also the university's first study abroad program on the African continent. Now, as Deputy Director, she played a key role in development of NYU Accra and was responsible for the daily operation of the program. She enjoys learning languages and is proficient in Spanish and German. So today I might put my Spanish and German to the test, you know. And of course, she also was the co-founder of the Black Women Abroad, BWA, a community of black women and their allies who travel, work, and live abroad. She completed her undergraduate program, undergraduate work in psychology and Spanish at the Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and also completed her graduate studies or graduate degrees in counseling and psychology with a concentration in cross-country studies multiculturalism while at the Columbia University in New York. Mrs. Christa Elise Sanders Bobtoya is director and head of Webster University's Ghana campus, and we very much appreciate her presence in the studio this morning. And before we introduce her officially, let's take a short break and then sort one or two things. Okay, it's fine. We're having a few technical hitches on the music, but it's back now. So welcome to YFM, Mrs. Bobtoya. That's a very nice name, though.
Thank you so very much.
Is it a Ghanaian name?
Yes.
Wow.
My husband is from Ghana.
Nice.
Yes.
What does it mean?
So he's from the northern part of Ghana.
Nice.
Yes. And spent also a significant period of time in the southern part of the country, and we met in Accra, and have been married for a number of years and have a beautiful daughter, Sage.
Wow. God bless her. God bless her. I'm sure the family's tuning now. But thank you so much. Before we get to business, I'm personally, back in uni, I had so much hope in traveling outside to study, okay? So I took a huge interest in researching on foreign studies. I mean, students traveling out to study, and it's a lot of work, especially for people like you who try to bridge the gap, educate people on the things they need to know, because there's a wide, there's a wide range of info that are usually wrong or over-exaggerated.
Right.
But people like you take time to actually break things down. So congrats, and
thank you.
Thank you so much, especially for the fact that you've been out here for 17 years doing the law's job. It's been fun. I mean, I'm sure it's been crazy. But do you love Ghana? How has your 17-year journey been?
Well, I think I love Ghana. In fact, some say I'm a Ghanaian now, and that I even deserve a medal, right? For being in Ghana for 17 good years. Ghana is definitely my home. It's my spiritual home. It's the place where I feel a sense of belonging. I actually first came to Ghana a long time ago, in 1999, in fact, with my father, who's a university professor, and he's been bringing students and church members. He's actually a preacher, and he's a professor of religion, New Testament, and classical Greek studies, and he's a Pan-Africanist above all. And so he loves Ghana, and so he's been bringing students who are studying to be pastors and Christian counselors and the like since 1993.
Wow.
So I joined him on a trip.
A year after I was born.
Oh my goodness! Wow, yes. So Dad's been around for a long time, and he's been doing this work for a long time, much longer, obviously, than me. But he really inspired me. And yes, so he brought me in 1999, and I had a beautiful experience visiting Ghana with his students, and of course, as an African American, as we all know, the experience of connection to home. I felt that from the moment I was at the door of no return, at Elmina Castle, the oldest and largest slave dungeon in the world. That was an incredible experience. It impacted my life. And I said from that moment, one day, I have to get back to this country, and not just as a traveler, but to live here, to work here, and to try to make an impact in my own way. And so that dream became a reality when I officially moved here in 2004.
Wow. Beautiful story right there. I mean, it's so fun to know when people come back and connect. And I use the word back because this is where we belong. This is where it all started. And they don't just come back as travelers, She came back and decided, you know what, I'm going to make a positive impact in my own way. And I mean, from the profile I read, you definitely see the impact she's had on education in particular out here. Of course, a few things on the side. But beyond all that, I mean, 17 years, people might have known you in the workspace. I mean, people who have worked with you in the past, your students, people you've touched, the lives that you've touched positively. They might definitely know you for your position. But beyond that, if any of them is locked in now, or for the sake of my listeners who are getting to know you today, where were you born? Tell us about your growth story. I mean, the kind of community you grew up in, how was growing up like for you, the special things about your growing up, things you remember, fond memories, all that.
Thank you for those questions. Well, I'm a Philly girl. I think when I came in earlier, I mentioned I'm from Philadelphia, proud, the city of brotherly love. That's how it's referred to. And it's a lovely city. I actually grew up in a suburb outside of Philadelphia. We often like to claim Philadelphia, but technically I'm from a college town called Bryn Mawr. It's a suburb again. And when I say it's a college town, there are a number of different colleges and universities in the area. Bryn Mawr College, we've got Swarthmore, we have Villanova University, and a number of Rosemont College. And so because both of my parents were university professors, it seemed appropriate to grow up in this community of universities. And so I come from a family of educators. I'd also mention that my beloved grandmother, who lived to be 97 years old, yes, she was such an inspiration in so many ways, was also an educator and taught in the Philadelphia public school system for over 35 years, I believe. And so I think being surrounded by a family of educators, it's no wonder that I also followed that path. And although I'm not a professor and more of an administrator, you know, I have a love of education and working with young people. I'd also like to mention something I think your listeners, your audience, and you will find to be really interesting. But my late grandmother, and she has a long name, I hope you can bear with me, Marjorie Ethel Salome Thompson Winfield.
Wow.
She, or I think here you say Salome.
Yes,
Salome, we called her Salome. She was in school with the late, great Kwame Nkrumah.
Beautiful.
At the University of Pennsylvania. My great uncles also taught your first president at Lincoln University, and
Fantastic.
I am a proud HBCU grad myself, just like Kwame Nkrumah of Lincoln.
This is beautiful.
I went to Spelman College, and so when my grandmother passed away, and that's been during these last years in Ghana, I went through her treasure chest, if you will, at home in Philadelphia, which I could never open as a child. Interesting enough. Yes, but suddenly I pushed a button and it just opened like that. And inside, I found letters from Nkrumah to my grandmother, even asking her to the dance at Lincoln or one of the schools.
And all these other things she kept away from me. I think it was right she kept it in the treasure chest so you can find out when she's no more.
Right. And then, interesting enough, and I shared this information with Samia Nkrumah and with the family members because she was actually my commencement speaker last year. It was just amazing to learn more about my family's history and particularly her connection to Kwame Nkrumah and to Ghana. And while my grandmother never had the opportunity to actually come to Ghana, opening that treasure chest of sorts, finding the letters, and then also finding the first black newspaper, the Philadelphia Tribune in Philly, with the March 6th, 1957 edition with Kwame Nkrumah's picture on the front saying that Ghana had finally become independent. She had it underlined, his name, and said, "My dear friend Kwame from UPenn days." And so I said to myself when I read that, I was very emotional. I said, there's a reason, you know, that I'm in Ghana today. And my grandmother, I think, you know, looking down would be proud that I made it over here and I've been able to do something in the educational sector with Samia Nkrumah. When she came and she was our speaker last year, she mentioned this during her speech. And honestly, we both shed a tear. And I feel connected to her and her family because of that important history that both of our families now share. That, again, cross-cultural exchange of information.
That's where it started from. Wow.
Yes, that's where it all began. And so I feel privileged to have had Grandma Marjorie as my grandmother and as sort of a matriarch of our family on my mother's side who did so much for me, influenced me in so many ways.
My next question was going to be your mentor, the person you picked the most influence from, but obviously, you know, we know who it is now. And I mean, just so if you hadn't come to Ghana, would you have visited any other African country to do all this?
Yes, I think so, but I think Ghana was the foundation. Prior to visiting Ghana, I did have the experience of going to Morocco while in university, which is also a beautiful place. I studied in Spain, so we took the boat over and spent some time in Morocco and also in Egypt, which I think is also very powerful. So I also spoke with Samia about the connection also with her Egyptian roots. And so, I love this continent. It's a beautiful one, and I've been privileged and blessed to travel to many countries. But Ghana, above all, is my home. And this is the spirit of Pan-Africanism. This is where it all began. And we are a leader, a beacon of light, not just for West Africa, but for the continent and the world. And I really, really believe that, and that's why I've always felt a part of the society and the community here. It's a proud nation.
You had the, I think it's right, I use the statement calling. You had the calling to travel and come back to the motherland with all the influence from the activities your grandma had been involved in and the priceless gifts she left you and the connection she built for you and the personal connection you had with Ghana even before you had decided to come back. Yeah. Around this time, did you have any career aspirations? I mean, growing up, did you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an astronaut? Yeah. What were your career ambitions?
So interesting enough, as a child, I was pretty obsessed with being a veterinarian. Great. Because I loved animals.
You loved animals. Yeah.
That was as a child. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized that you're going to have to work with, you know, snakes and reptiles,
we don't like snakes.
Types of animals, I realized, oh, that's not for me. And I can never be a medical doctor mm-hmm. because of everything that's involved in it. So, but I respect doctors mm-hmm. so much. I think because I am very much a people person. Mm-hmm. I love people. I love interacting and engaging with people. I knew I always wanted to be a psychologist or be in a profession where I would interact with people and people from all over the world. Yeah. So initially, when I went to school, to college, to Spelman, I came in as a psychology and a Spanish major. And I had the idea then of being a multi-lingual psychologist who could speak to people from all different nations. Yeah. I mean, I had big, bold goals. And I went on to grad school in the same area of counseling psychology at Columbia University with a focus in cross-cultural studies and multiculturalism. I know that's a whole mouthful, right? But that kind of has helped me and encouraged me along my career path. Those psychology skills are so necessary for the work that I do. You know, running a university is not easy work. A lot of it is also people management. You've got faculty, you've got students, you've got parents, you have vendors that you work with, you have partners. I mean, so those skills become very, very important. And I've never professed to be a teacher or a scholar in the sense of being in the classroom. I think there are folks that are suited for that, like my mother, who was in the field of nursing. She was an RN and a professor of obstetrics. And then my father, as I mentioned before. They teach, and they're born teachers. I mean, you really have to have that. But for me, when it comes to building and creating things and making things work and, you know, trying to, in a sense, be behind the scenes to make sure, ensure quality educational experiences for students, in our case, you know, even experiences overseas, education overseas. I think that this background in psychology and multiculturalism has actually helped me. So while I have utilized those skills and I've counseled students, for example, when living in Spain and when living in Germany, I always knew that I wanted to live outside of the United States. You know, on the one hand, I would say there are a lot of amazing things about the country that I come from, right? And I know a lot of your listeners may be interested in the United States. Certainly our students aspire to go to the United States, and it is a fantastic country in so many ways. But I've been a person who's found my comfort zone also outside of where I was born.
Same way they're also trying to find their space out there.
Yes.
You grew up there and you found your space elsewhere.
Yes, I felt very connected to Ghana. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't, you know, mention the many challenges that African Americans, or as my father says, we are Africans in America, have had to deal with. The challenges, we've really struggled. We've been quite a resilient people. I'm very proud African American woman, but it's nice to be in a country where I don't have to constantly worry about racism, watch my back around gun violence and police brutality. At the same time, you know,
trying to chase all the dreams that you have.
So I mean, Ghana, you know, I have a friend who runs an NGO here. Her name is Pat Wilkins. She runs an NGO called Basics, and she has these wonderful T-shirts that her girls, she's focused on girls' education, that says, Ghana breathes freedom. And for me, that T-shirt, when I saw it, I said, wow, this is it, because that is what I feel the journey in Ghana has been, that I can finally breathe freedom and I can just be. I can just be, and I can create, and I can develop, and I can try again to make an impact in the educational sector in some way or some form, some shape.
So that was your studies in counseling psychology,
right?
And then you obviously went on straight to dealing with people. Did you ever consider going into private practice? Because with what you do now, I can say for a fact that you are the people's person. Like you, you serve a whole multitude. But did it ever cross your mind to try and make your career a private one where you can deal with one-on-one clients, make some money? Because obviously that would fetch you a lot of money.
Yes.
Wasn't money at any point the motivation to survive, to make some cash off, what you had studied?
Right. So I would say, going into education is not about making money. It's about making an impact, making a difference, helping young people to see the world, through education. Yes, I would say in my earlier years, I thought about private practice, but I really like working in a university setting where you can see the impact across more than one person at a time.
Yeah.
I just think that's more powerful and more inspiring. And at the same time, I really respect those professionals and colleagues out there who have their private practices, because I think they're important. And even in my job today at Webster University, we focus a lot on the importance of mental health.
Yeah.
And we have mental health practitioners that are available, several of them, for our students. And particularly after COVID, during COVID, mental health is such an important area we have to consider in making sure that our student wellness, well-being, overall well-being is ensured. And so, yes, who knows? Maybe when I retire one day, if there's a possibility I go back and get some additional certifications, maybe I would do that. Maybe there would be a possibility. But right now, and for the years I've been in Ghana, I really like working in the university setting. I find it empowering and encouraging.
And fulfilling, of course.
And fulfilling, very fulfilling, very fulfilling. We cannot enter work that is not fulfilling. I see, for example, you and the work that you're doing, and our conversations also prior to being on radio, that you're absolutely passionate about what you do for a living. And so I've been in work before where I was not passionate, and there's nothing like that. It's like dragging your feet to go to work. And from that one experience I had in my life, I realized that no, I have to go get up every morning, feel motivated about what I'm going to do each day, and who I'm going to serve.
Exactly.
That's so important.
Wow, beautiful. Now, how did Spain come about? You've touched on a few bits of it. How did your studies carry you to Spain, and what sent you to Germany? I just want to find out those two before we get back to...
Yeah, thank you. Spain, you may recall that I mentioned that I attended Spelman College.
Yes.
Which I'll plug for a minute. It was, founded in 1881 and encourages black women to be leaders in their respective fields, gives us a choice to change the world. That's the motto. And that was just such a powerful experience. And while at Spelman, I decided to declare a double major. In the United States, we have so many Spanish-speaking individuals. And so learning Spanish, yes, especially in the larger cities like in New York and Los Angeles and Miami.
Bronx, all the sides,
yes. So Spanish has become a critical language. And so early on, I knew I wanted to learn Spanish. And then I decided, while at Spelman, that I would study in Madrid. And so my first experience of being able to put my language classes to practice, if you will, was in Spain. So I actually studied at the Syracuse University Study Abroad program, and that experience was life-changing. And then I later proposed to them that, don't you need a counselor or therapist for your students? Because when you study abroad, there's so many adjustment issues. You deal with cross-cultural shock and so many things. So as a student, I realized that a lot of my peers, my classmates were experiencing challenges, and at that time we didn't have a counselor. So I actually proposed my job to Syracuse University, at the time the Division of International Programs Abroad, and they accepted my proposal, and I became the counselor there for the students, the chief counselor of students. And I did that job for about 3.5 years. I saw all kinds of issues and challenges, and at the same time, I developed with another African American who'd been living there for a number of years, John Ware, an organization, Voices of Change.
Voices of Change, yes, I was going to get to that.
Yes, and we saw during the period of living in Spain that a lot of the students in the study abroad group who were either of African descent, some of the Latin American students, Asian students were facing racism and discrimination on the streets of Madrid. They were being stopped by the police. They were being harassed by the police. And so we realized that they needed to be more aware of the challenges in this particular area in Spain and be equipped with resources and even understand their legal rights.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's why we started that. So that was the period in Spain. In Germany, I had the ambition of learning German, which is a very difficult language. I said I wanted to be a multilingual psychologist.
So you were up to the task,
I was up for the task. So I went to Germany, but I also worked for an American psychological hotline there to deal with expats, foreigners who were dealing with or experiencing challenges in Germany.
So you were just pretty much, not to cut you, but any space you found yourself, you would look out for the challenges people of your kind were facing, and then you would suggest ways through which you can curb it, ways to turn things around. And that happened in, but even back in the U.S., it happened in Spain with the Voices of Change, and then you found yourself in Germany, and then you wanted to deal with that as well.
Yes. Wow. I mean, I've always been an advocate for marginalized groups, and also while living abroad, for people of color, students of color, even for Americans who've faced discrimination, even based on sometimes the political situation in the United States. So yes, I think I've always been an advocate, and I've always been focused on uplifting people, giving people opportunities, and also just helping people around the area of mental health and just engaging folks on culture and understanding the world. We have a global village, as they always say, and it has not been a peaceful village we've been living in. I mean, look at the world today with the Russia-Ukraine situation. It's impacting people all over the world. We really need to focus on cross-cultural understanding and those bridges that you rightfully mentioned, creating them and making sure that people can get along and move in this world, because the world has quite a lot to offer.
Yeah, and once we're together, it's either we mend those broken bridges now, build the new ones, or we forever stay in conflict.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much we can learn about each other when we learn to understand, learn to appreciate how we are. And in the appreciation process, we create awareness about the challenges.
Yes.
We're well aware of them, and we find solutions to them. We build it, and the next day, things are back to normal.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not back to normal, at least it gets better than it was previously.
Absolutely.
With that. And I believe that as an inspiration for anybody in whatever it is that they do, it's a stepping stone for greatness,
Absolutely.
Yes, you finding greatness in your own space. Okay, so if I work in a book publishing company, what am I doing to make sure that people who find themselves in my space understand the challenges? Listen, you need to understand the challenges before you can find ways through which you can turn things around. Everyone does this in their own field, and we'll be happy people. We will be happy people at some point. Now, your project you did in Spain, back to it again, the Voices of Change, I was told had some academic impact on the studies of the students you were targeting. Can you throw more light onto the success story of the Voices of Change, the things that were changed specifically with regards to the academics? What were some of the groundbreaking stories that came out of that?
Well, it wasn't directly linked to their academic program, obviously. It was more about living in Spain.
Yes, the social setting.
And the social setting. Study abroad, just for your listeners, in the U.S. context. it's often students from the United States coming over to the foreign country and spending a semester or year or summer to fully immerse in that culture. And so, as I was mentioning, in this particular case, I had my Latin American students. I had a number of Dominican students who were in the evenings maybe going out with friends and were being confused to be prostitutes or nannies and that kind of thing, and they were harassed as a result, right? And then we had young black men going out and being stopped, asked for identification. I mean, similar to what's happening in the United States and in Europe and many parts of the world. And so I would say it was an advocacy organization for your rights, knowing your legal rights, being able to work with a group of attorneys to help students if they found themselves in trouble, and really just making sure that we would go to various study abroad programs in various universities and talk very openly about discrimination issues in Spain. You know, Spain, at the time that I was there, and I think this is still the case, is a very homogeneous culture, very few foreigners, and so there's a lot of xenophobia. And so there was a need to also educate the public there about, the various immigrant populations. For example, there's been a number of businesses run by the Chinese in Spain, and the Chinese are greatly discriminated against in Spain. Yes. And we have those situations here in Ghana also at times, right? And so it's a public service, I would say, that organization, to engage in discussions and dialogue around discrimination, understanding our belief systems, our assumptions, our generalizations, and how to break those down to make a difference so we can all live together comfortably and respect each other's right, and also understand and appreciate cultures outside of our own. And that's a life's work, honestly. But I'm proud of that organization. Now, my co-founder, John Ware, as I said, black man from Ohio, I mean, he was put in jail a number of times just for walking down the street. He had dreadlocks just for his dreads. We dealt with the issue of dreads also here in Ghana. People with dreadlocks are often discriminated.
Heavily discriminated.
Right? We know about the young man, Achimoto, that case. We just need to practice a culture of tolerance. And so that's what Voices of Change was really about.
And I'm just thinking about it now, with all you've mentioned for the academic setting and the main question that I asked, it did have a positive impact on that. Because honestly, if you're in Spain to study, and amidst you're trying to study and achieve your goals, you're being discriminated against, you're facing all these, and now there's a voice to create awareness, and things are changing, and there's a reform around all these things, your academics will definitely go up.
Right.
Because now you have,
it trickles down.
Exactly, it goes back to that. So definitely that would have to go back into, the books of, achievements for, the projects you did. But is this something that was kept on after you left?
So John Ware is still in Spain, from my last knowledge, and still doing that very important work. I moved on, as you know, beyond Europe because Africa was home.
Africa was calling.
Africa was calling, and so I wanted a different experience. And having said all of this, I do also love Europe and had wonderful years in Germany and in Spain, and traveling throughout Europe has a lot to offer. But again, there is no place like home.
Yeah. So when you decided to come to Ghana in 2004, from what I read initially, the first step for you was New York University's, abroad program here.
Yes.
In your opinion, and I heard about this long time ago, somewhere back in Kumasi around 2013. That was when I got to know that NYU actually had an Accra campus. What, in your opinion, would you say accounted for the success of the NYU, program since it was started?
Oh, well, the NYU program is a one of a kind. I would just say that. And having spent 10 years, I was only supposed to spend 5 years there, but it ended up to be 10 years working there. I think it's the way the NYU model is, and so NYU is of the city and the world. So the classroom is the city in which they operate in the world. And so there's a lot of, experiential opportunities there, a lot of field experiences, a lot of community engagement. My dear friend, Professor Frankie Chike-Adozian, is now running that institution. While I was there was NYU Ghana, now it's NYU Accra, because we wanted to really reflect on the city of Accra, and is doing amazing work there. Wow. So there's a lot of engagement. He's a prolific writer and well-respected writer. Has had some award-winning books and so on and so forth. So he's brought on a series where he has a number of African writers coming to the university. So not just during his time now, but while I was there, had the opportunity to also bring amazing thought leadership. Let's say Angela Davis came for a literary conference, and it was through NYU that I had the opportunity to take her to Elmina and Cape Coast Castles for the first time in her life. Okay, the woman who
you
is
gave them
behind
an experience,
Black liberation movements, Afro.
And you gave her first experience.
Yes, and through NYU that was possible.
Beautiful.
NYU has brought in leaders in every field and industry, and that's how they operate worldwide. And they've been doing global exchanges for a very, very long time. So I have an established history in that. But really, their model is to be of the city and of the world, and to give the students the opportunity to experience excellence in scholarship from faculty around the world. They do a really, really wonderful job. Landmark job in creating global study programs worldwide.
Now, we talk about exchange programs all the time. You deal with the students. You're obviously directly involved with the students, and I want to find out, what do you think has been the biggest impact of student exchange programs, to on the host countries, and then the receiving countries, especially from the perspective of the students?
Right. Well, I think, for the students that come over, it's an opportunity to learn something, again, outside of their comfort zone, the opportunity to exchange ideas, to dialogue, to debate on world issues with students from another part of the world, to sensitize students to cultural practices and ways of doing things that may be different from theirs. So I think the great beauty of that is that actual exchange that happens. Obviously, study abroad is also an investment, and right. I think for Ghana, where there are a number of study abroad programs, both at Legon campus, we mentioned NYU, Webster University, so many. These students coming is an investment into Ghana. These programs are not inexpensive, as I think we all know, and they get so many opportunities also to meet and exchange ideas with faculty who are experts in their field, and to see examples that are positive of this part of the world. So often they're plagued with images that are not so positive of our continent, but they leave feeling inspired and with a very different picture and image of what we do here. And that in itself is powerful. And also, I think the leadership that comes out of it. So for the students that go back to the U.S., sometimes I've seen students over the years, they come back and they may be working in different parts of the continent. We've had students, I have some students, alum of that program of NYU and also of Webster University, who are now doing big things in their respective fields and industries.
They go back
on
with a change
the continents, and making waves, and making a difference. And to know that the program that they were on, or the campus experience that they had, let's say at Webster University, has inspired them to do what they're doing today. That is very fulfilling, and it has a great impact on the host nation and on the country that they're coming from, and being proud of that. So I think there's benefits on both sides, really wonderful benefits.
And I mean, with this, I'll just push that it becomes a part of, our educational system. And I will say this because I'm from here. We've seen it happen. It is a part of our studies, but I think it should be widened. The scope should be widened. It should be an ample part of our studies where, in regardless the course, so it's mostly language-based courses that will advocate you going outside to study for maybe a year. If you're doing French as part of your studies, maybe you'll be pushed to go do a year abroad. But I think it should go beyond that. It should affect tech, people who are doing statistics, politics, so we go.
Yes.
And then experience things on a different scale, like you mentioned, learn different cultures, understand and appreciate how things they're doing here are done over there.
Right.
And until we get there, schools like Webster University are championing this. And of course, it brings me to my next question. When did Webster University come in, Ghana campus? When did it come in, and what inspired you to get into the space and do all the beautiful things you're doing?
Sure. So Webster University came to Ghana in 2013, actually. And that was the year in which we received accreditation from the NAB, now GTEC, to operate in Ghana. We set up our buildings and our facilities and started, creating partnerships and everything for our students. The students, however, didn't start enrolling until 2014.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yes, because it took quite some time to secure the buildings. Initially, we were located in Cantonments, not far from the U.S. Embassy, and today we're in East Legon. So during my time of being at Webster, we've moved our campus due to, enrollment growth, and, East Legon is the place to be.
It's actually the center of Accra, East Legon is the center of Accra. All the companies are moving in now. Life there is beautiful. It's a busy city.
Right.
Everything in there is moving. People are always on the go. And it's beautiful how East Legon is super, super busy during the day, and at night it calms.
It's absolutely.
It's so peaceful and serene.
So
Security
it's a pleasant place also for students to study and to engage also with other universities. Near us, obviously, University of Ghana, Knutsford, Radford, until recently, Lancaster. So it's a nice university community that we have. So we started initially as a graduate campus, and then we later decided that there was so much interest in undergraduate studies, and so we decided within a couple of months to open up the campus to undergraduate studies. And so we've been around since 2014, and during that period we've grown not only our population of students with grad and undergraduate cohorts flourishing, but we have a number of different program offerings at Webster. We have psychology, we have media studies, we have international relations, we have management, we have computer science. We also have a minor in Africana studies.
Wow.
And I want to make a plug for that more of our people here on the continent need to consider Africana studies, because that's a powerful, powerful field. We usually have more of the study abroad students in the U.S.
coming down for that, but I think we here should actually take advantage of that.
Our people, our history, our culture, and how powerful and how it is and how impactful it is. And then we have graduate programs as well. We have an MBA that we're offering with several different emphasis areas. We have a Master of Arts in International Relations and a Master of Arts in Human Resource Management. So those are the programs we're currently offering. We have a robust online system at Webster, and
yours is beautiful.
Yes.
I must say it's beautiful, and I know so well.
Okay.
When it comes to Webster, you have it's the only uni that has a virtual, orientation system. Before students even enroll, they get the opportunity to experience the campus and the beautiful lecturers that are there in terms of what they offer. The variety of studies, courses and programs to pick from. The beautiful atmosphere, pretty much. They get to experience it before they even get in. And for I think 3-4 years now, I've been closely monitoring Webster. I'm not saying this because you're here, because I'm doing so well.
Right.
You're promoting togetherness. You're building a community beyond the campus. Students who are, I know a few students who have enrolled, people who have had their master's studies, and you have a program that is so beautiful. You start here and you finish out there. All that. Just to tell you, I know so much.
Oh, I'm impressed. I'm so impressed. I mean, one of the things is, our mission is to ensure high quality learning experiences that transform students for global citizenship and individual excellence, and we want to be a premier U.S.-based global institution, and we want to also promote lifelong learning. We have core values of our institution. We value our students above all. We have to date over 28 nationalities. So I like to think of us as a model United Nations of Africa beyond the students from the various African countries. And I'm talking across Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa, West Africa. I just started receiving students from Rwanda.
Beautiful.
We have students who've come from Europe, from Asia, of course from the United States, from Canada. A lot of transfer students who want that U.S. accredited degree and want that global difference. There are opportunities to study abroad. So a Webster trajectory is also about the opportunity to go overseas and come back and build your nation. And learn those skills, critical thinking skills related to your particular discipline, and come back and really make a difference. So the study abroad program is a critical part of what we do, and our students at Webster Ghana have been able, since the time I've been around, to study and even transfer to our campus in the U.S. Some have gone to Holland, some have gone to Greece, some have gone to Thailand, some have been in Switzerland, and imagine studying near the UN, imagine being in Holland near The Hague. That's also part of one of our most popular programs, international relations, and our business school, as well as tech. The computer science are very important programs. We talked about psychology, how that's becoming more and more important. I encourage any parents that may be listening out there to consider psychology, especially we've seen after COVID, there's such a need for practitioners in the field of mental health and, of course, media studies and communications.
Exactly.
Your area.
I think it should come hand in hand because when you do psychology and you get into media studies, especially mass media, you're able to impact a lot of lives together at the same time. COVID has taught us that things are moving and things can change any moment, and the impact can be felt across the world.
Absolutely.
And so things like this are new fields people should look into, psychology in particular. And I really love the fact that you mentioned we need to pick up parents, young people, start understanding human behavior. And I believe it's the basis for us understanding a lot of things that are happening now. There's been countless arguments over social issues that we can understand and better appreciate in solving if we understand how human beings think.
Absolutely.
And understand and interpret how human beings react to certain things. So it's very, very important, and I would like to stress on that again. Go through the courses, Webster offers. Take a quick look at the psychology bit of it.
Yes, I think that one is very important. And I also like to say that if students don't find their program of choice, the world of Webster University is vast. We're talking about over 10,000 students worldwide in multiple campus locations across Europe and Asia, North America. We now just opened a campus in Uzbekistan.
Wow.
Our global footprint is really expanding. Global is the future of Webster University. And so to have a degree that's not only U.S. accredited, right, but is also global in nature is very important towards future career mobility, right? And so we emphasize that. We also have faculty from around the world. So right now, we even have a faculty member the last 2 semesters coming from the U.S., coming from our campuses in Europe to also teach. We have a faculty member right now, Dr. Eva Zedlacker, who's here also for a period of time, teaching in the human resource
And they're bringing
area.
all the experiences in the various continents now.
Absolutely. So we have a rotation of faculty that teach you in the classroom. We have the diversity of students and the engagement that happens there, and the opportunity for study abroad plus the global degree. So I think it's a win-win situation
The world
at
is Webster.
University.
The world is becoming Webster.
Plus we have scholarships.
Yes, we're going to get to that. I mean, students are experiencing a lot. You're sharing, obviously, all these things. We have faculty from all parts of the world, different and interesting programs, and a very fostering atmosphere and environment for studies. We're located at the right space. Our programs are beautiful to study. And then scholarships. I mean, I was going to get to that. Do you have scholarships? How does the system work? What kind of offers are you giving students now?
Absolutely. Well, we encourage all students to apply. Once you've applied and you've been accepted, and it's an easy online application. I'm sure towards the end of the program we can talk about how you go about doing that. You can apply for a scholarship, and it's based on financial need and merit, obviously. And, you know, scholarships range and go up to 50%. And so one of the things I want your audience to know is American degrees are expensive. They're very expensive, honestly. And we know that, and we're aware of it. But Webster took that into consideration when building the Ghana campus, that we would greatly reduce our fees to meet the needs of the region and the economy. And so while the home campus, for example, it's in St. Louis, Missouri, is at a certain rate, we're a third of the cost of the same degree. So it's the same degree, it's the same curriculum, and that degree comes from the U.S. and is literally shipped to Ghana. Yes, so it is a U.S. accredited degree, and you know, one can go very far, I believe, with that. And so we even now have a diaspora strategy that I'm working with our director of enrollment, Mr. Jacob Dodu. And the idea is to get the African diaspora to come back home to study. You don't need to study necessarily in the U.S. where you can get that degree right here in Ghana at a reduced rate with all of the benefits, and you're also on the continent with the best of instructors, with a scholarship, and so on and so forth. So we already have had a number of members of the diaspora, Ghanaian diaspora, Nigerian diaspora, African Americans, Caribbeans, Black British,
all of us,
taking advantage of what we have to offer at a fraction of the cost of the other locations. And also, we have something really wonderful, a great incentive that you will really, really appreciate, and your audience will too, I hope, is that we pay for your plane ticket to your location of choice to spend a semester or year abroad. And so many of our students have taken advantage of that.
If I'm studying with Webster and I decide to pick, let's say, a New York City campus, or let's say a United States campus, and it's time, Webster is saying they're going to pay for my ticket.
Your plane ticket, yes, your airfare.
To go and get my studies done and come back.
Yes, so you can spend up to a semester or a year and then return to our campus. And so that's part of the trajectory. So the students go mostly to the home campus in St. Louis. Or you could go, as I said, some of our students have gone to other campuses, like in Vienna or in Geneva or in Athens, Greece. For example, we've had students in China, Thailand, and other places, and they've had that experience and come back. And some of our students actually decide while there that they want to finish up at that campus. And so in the subsequent years, they're subject to the tuition fees of that particular campus. But at least for 1 year of your life, you pay the Ghana tuition fee, and all the scholarships apply and go to your country of choice, plus a free plane ticket. And I don't know any university
that does that.
And I've worked for a lot of universities. We've talked about this, but I don't know any university that offers that free plane ticket to encourage study abroad. And I think that is just a fantastic piece. Not that just I work for Webster University, but it's something I would always advocate for, because we want to make sure that young people have the opportunity to go abroad. We have very strong relationships also with the various diplomatic missions. And so we say to students, have 3 different choices of where you'd like to go, and we'll get you to one of them.
Wow, that's beautiful. So that's Ms. Bobtoya. Mrs. Bobtoya actually with us. And at this point, I'll just take 2 questions from you. I have a few on here already on our WhatsApp. Big shout's going out to Francisca Day. Francisca is texting in from East Legon. Francisca wants to find out from Mrs. Bobtoya. She says, how do I join the Webster family? I think this is a very simple question.
Oh, yes.
Francisca wants to find out how she can join the Webster family.
So, Francisca, we would be honored to have you join the Webster family. It's a big global family, and we have a great admissions team. led by Mr. Jacob Dodu and a number of counselors at the campus in East Legon. We're just behind Media Pharmacy off of Lagos Avenue. We'd be happy to give you a tour. Or if you're busy, you can do a virtual tour through our website. I think you've done that before. We have 5 intakes per year for both the grad and the undergraduate studies. And so what that means is we have rolling admission, which is fantastic. And once you've submitted all your materials and everything is set, within a week, we give you a decision. Wow. So if you're not sure what you want to do right now, there are intakes in June. We have another intake in August. We have an intake in October, in January, and March. So there are plenty of opportunities to join the global Webster family. It's also a very easy online application. So it's just www.webster.edu/apply. You can also call us. And we hope after this interview, our phones are going to be ringing.
Yeah, they will. They will definitely call.
That is our hope at 054-012-0849 or 054-012-0869. Again, 054-012-0849 or 054-012-0869, and you'll speak with one of our very engaging and friendly admissions officers. And we actually even have someone on staff who speaks fluent French, at least 2. So for my Francophone community out there, Webster is also for you. S'il vous plaît.
Merci. Now, at this point, I want to find out the significant milestones chalked by the Black Women Abroad organization. I read that along the line just so we were able to inspire more women to get on board and, put some more power in us. Tell us the milestones chalked by the association, the organization, sorry.
Yeah, so Black Women Abroad is basically a community of Black women and their allies that travel, work, and study abroad. And it was founded by my sister and myself, Janet Iris Stubbs. She's based in Rwanda, on her way soon to Mozambique. She's lived in Ethiopia, so she's also a very global focused. Our whole family is very international and global. And the idea is that we want to encourage women of color to travel the world and to provide products and services that seek to inspire others to be bold, worldly, and authentic.
Sounds good.
So the proceeds of what we're doing will go to a book that we're working on called Black Women Abroad. It sort of chronicles the adventures and stories of my sister and I for the last 25 years, traveling to over 65 countries in the world, and what it is to be Black. Right. What it is to be Black and to be a woman and to be abroad and to be empowered, that there's nothing that you can't do. And we also, one of the most important things of Black Women Abroad is our Sas Scholarship. So that's the Study Abroad Student Scholarship. And the idea is to study abroad with Sas, right? And this scholarship is close to being endowed. I'm proud to say that we've started the scholarship at my beloved alma mater, Spelman College, which just had its Founders Day, I believe yesterday, 141 years old.
That's a big milestone.
Right. I mean, it's, we have amazing women coming out of Spelman College. And so we've started the scholarship fund there, but we're looking to ensure that we can broaden the scholarship and offer it also to Black women on the continent, African women worldwide, and their allies who would like to take advantage of these experiences.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Now, one other thing I want to find out before we get very close to wrapping up this morning. You've studied our system. You've been here 17 years, all right, if I'm not wrong.
Almost.
What, in your opinion, and this is going to be a fair opinion, because I know you're going to speak from experience. What do you think are some of the fundamental and emphasis laid on fundamental challenges plaguing our educational system? You've been here, you've had a positive impact on our educational system, but the system you met and the system that is around you, what do you think are some of the fundamental challenges and if there are solutions, I mean, you put them on what you think can be done to, make our educational system better.
Well, first, let me say that Ghana is a nation of brilliant people. We've had Kofi Annan, right? Kwame Nkrumah, so many incredible leaders, our current president. I mean, brilliant leaders out of this country. But I think the main issue is access to quality education.
Quality education.
I think that is the challenge. An education that focuses on problem-solving skills, critical thinking skills. I think it's also this issue of the location sometimes of some of our schools. We don't have access to resources and infrastructure. We know that, especially during the COVID period, that we're moving towards a future of education that's more e-learning and virtual experiences. And so digital literacy is absolutely critical. And I think that's an area where, obviously, because of infrastructural issues, we have to work on that as a nation. Girls' education, obviously, is something that has been a challenge. But I think, the landscape is changing. It's changing, and I'm really proud of what I've seen in my 17 years. Lots of fundamental changes in Ghana in these areas. So I think that those are some of the areas that are
needs
concern.
to be touched on.
Yes, and we need to also focus on beyond being book smart, right?
That's very, very important. Because people are learning for the grades.
Right. And the regurgitation of information through more of like a rote learning type system. Like, we really need to transform that.
Now, and let me
our
just add this,
mindsets
even robots are learning how to apply, and so we should do better.
Yes, we really have to look at that. So I think there has to be a focus when we look at the careers of tomorrow. We know that the number one important thing for the employer is the soft skills.
Yes, soft skills, yes, very important.
Right. So those interpersonal skills, being innovative, being
problem-solving skills, teamwork.
All of those things, taking initiative. Right? And so those kind of things are not necessarily taught in university, and more STEAM programming. I'm big on the arts as well, outside of, engineering and tech and all of that, sciences. We need to focus on the arts as well as a viable possibility and path for professions. I know in working with parents, we'll have prospective parents come in and they hear their child wants to go into psychology or go into the arts, and it's like, no. But actually, we see examples all around us in the world that you can have a viable profession, even a profession in social media marketing.
That's true.
Those are professions. So we have to kind of open our mindset beyond the traditional professions
doctor,
of being
the lawyer,
the lawyer, attorney, that a lot of our parents are encouraging us in, and see that you can create your own business. I mean, look, this is an enterprising culture, right? You can be an entrepreneur. You can develop your own think tank, your own app. And that is the direction that we really need to go in, I think, as a nation and as a world. It's not Ghana alone.
It's a global
our
assignment.
Our systems have been pretty archaic in education for a while, and COVID has forced every institution worldwide to
come out of the
shell and reflect on how we do things. Is it going to be hybrid? Is it going to be the brick and mortar scenario? So there's a lot of thinking that we have to do around this, and but I think Ghana is going in the right direction.
We're creating the awareness. People are starting to have the conversations, and so we're definitely looking at, we're all staring at a very bright future if things are kept on this tangent, if we keep putting in more and having these conversations. Things are changing now. I have mates who I got out of uni with, and they're all not targeting the traditional, career paths like you mentioned, because there's a lot of traffic, on these paths. People are becoming more creative with regards to their career, trying to find solutions to problems, and of course of that, creating different paths of careers for themselves. And so I think we have a long way to go, but it's good we've started. We're on the right path. Now, still on that, and of course, on a different, scheme, beyond sailing through academic hurdles, what specific skills must young people arm themselves with before coming out of school? We've talked about the things that employers are looking at, their soft skills and that, but before they are done with school, whether they're going to work for somebody or they're going to create their own, what are some of the skills, in your opinion, young people must equip themselves with before they are out of school to either cross over to the world of work or to stay in the problem-solving realm? It might not be work, but
I think you have to be innovative, and be able, as we said, to create solutions. I think that's very, very important, that you have to be adaptable. I think that the world is changing, so you really have to be able to have the skills to learn how to adapt with the changes that the world is facing. And, again, I think I would still go back to those soft skills and
yes.
being humble, learning to be receptive to constructive feedback. Because as we said, through school, you're getting all of the book knowledge, but then it's about applying the theoretical in real life settings.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you do have to have certain skill sets and be armed and equipped with those to succeed. So that's what I would say. You need to have some of those important skills. I don't know if that was what you were getting at, but I love this conversation with you on this area. We are also trying to engage our students on being, as we talked about earlier, culturally sensitive, adaptable, and understanding that the world is much bigger than their immediate environs. And so I think it's a combination of skills that you have to have that are not necessarily taught in the university, but you can pick them. So also networking.
It really fosters that, because then
networking. Yes, networking, making a difference for yourself, taking on leadership positions while in school, getting involved in student government association, even associations, even community service and engagement. All of those.
It instills all these things in you while you're in school. So when you're done.
Exactly. Beyond the book knowledge, those things are critical, because when you're applying for college, believe me, they're not just looking at your standardized
your grades,
test scores. It's so much more. The essay that you're writing, how compelling is it? What has your life story been? You asked me about my life story. How has it brought you to where
you are today?
So I think all of those experiences are very critical to have, and there are quite a few of them, right? But, you have a path that you're on, and so you should have a vision of what you want also for your future. And talk with mentors. Mentors are absolutely critical, right? I mentor a number of young people, and I think it's important. I have had mentors. I still have mentors today, both in Ghana and outside of Ghana, who I talk to, I exchange ideas with, that help me be a better person and a better professional. So I would say there's a lot that one needs, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
And it doesn't end.
It doesn't. It's a lifelong journey of even learning. Learning is a lifelong journey. So you take what you have learned from school, and I try to apply it with a combination of those soft skills that we need.
And you do good. You fit in the society. The world is changing, it's growing, but if you grow inside, when you get to the real world, you know how to apply certain things. We've spoken so much about education, what brought you to Ghana, your connection, and that you've been here 17 years doing so well and impacting lives in a positive way. Personally, if you're not doing all these things, if you're not busy educating young people about the rights, decisions they're supposed to make with regards to their lives, and emphasizing on the fact that they need to educate themselves and how vast they need to go with regards to educating themselves, what do you do when you're free? What is Mrs. Bobtoya doing? Do you like to party? Do you travel? If you travel, do you have any special destinations you like?
Party, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Well, COVID taught us that you need to party because anything can happen.
Right. I like spending time with my family. I have a small family at this point. We have a beautiful 10-year-old little girl, Sas Elise. Spending time with my husband and my daughter is important. Traveling. We enjoy traveling. I mean, it's at my core of everything I do, including Black Women Abroad. So traveling to different countries, learning about different cultures, food. I think those things are wonderful. I like reading. I enjoy reading. We have a great book club at work that we've even started, and I've been enjoying that. as well. So I think those are some of my hobbies, and I'm a big fan of the arts.
Okay.
So I didn't mention, but when I initially went to college, before I declared psychology and Spanish, I was an art major.
Wow. That was a quick switch, but you still have it with you, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I love the arts. I love jewelry. I love going to art galleries and museums. I'm very...
Do you have any favorites out here? Have you seen any artists?
Yes,
the ones
there's
that...
so many.
So many of them,
there's
right?
Larry Otto, there's Wiz, there's Prof. Bloody Glover and his amazing gallery. I mean, there's so many incredible artists that I'll be ashamed because I cannot mention all of them here, but I'm really inspired by many of these figures. El Anatsui, I mean, there are so many that have gone so far, and the arts is also a viable career option as well, and I think we're seeing that
it's paying a lot.
More and more. I love music as well.
What kind of music? What kind of songs do you like? Yeah, YFM is music.
Well,
it's a
like
music
that
station.
Traditional hip hop. I mean, I grew up in the hip hop area, R&B, jazz, bossa nova. I also love what's happening with our music now that has gone Afrobeats all over the world. In Ghana and Nigeria,
I'm sure you love some Black Sharif in there.
Yes. And Shatta Wale and Sakode and Becca, I know her personally. Reggie Rockstone, I've known him over the years. When I first came to Ghana, you know who I loved the most? Ameche Dede. I'm old school. Ameche Dede, Daddy Lumba, all of them. I think that they're fantastic. So music is an incredible thing. I really love it and enjoy playing instruments and things like that. Even I love listening to classical music as well. I mean, I have a really wide range. Music. My favorite musician of all times is Stevie Wonder. And I'm inspired by him today. It is my dream to actually meet him in person. And he lived in Ghana. And I've seen him actually in Ghana from a distance just a few years back. Yes, but he is a musical genius who loves this country. Right?
Yeah, it will happen. Mother Earth will just make it happen.
Absolutely.
It's your dream, same way you wanted to come to Ghana and then leave a positive mark. I mean, you haven't left, you're still with us.
Yes.
But it happened. And so all the dreams, definitely, once you keep on putting in work, it will happen. But thank you so much.
Thank you,
I enjoyed this. This was so calm. I think it fits the weather. Yes, the fact that it rained yesterday, everything had to calm down for Mrs. Bobtoya to come in and spend time with us this morning. I've really enjoyed every bit of it. I believe my listeners have learned so much, especially about student exchange programs and, of course, getting the right education, world-class tertiary education here in Ghana. Webster, does it best, and she's with them. So I'm just going to go over the number once again. If you, beyond all that we discussed, if you're interested in picking up a course with Webster University, the numbers to call is 05401 20849 or 05401 0540 20869. Okay, just call any of these numbers and then the team will get in touch with you and make it happen. But
wonderful. And I also want to mention that today we have an event at Webster, and it's online. Okay, so if you'd like to share, we're excited because we do a lot of public lectures, master classes. We have a career fair coming up. Our campus is very busy and bustling with activity. And now we're also having some activities in person. Not the one today, but we have a public lecture that'll come up on the 21st that will also be in person. So, sure.
Yeah,
I know that you know what we're
definitely.
up to.
Just make sure you come through next Thursday. That is 5:30 p.m. on the Webster campus. It's a master class. They have the master class this evening, a virtual master class, business master class this evening, and then the public lecture on Africa Beyond Aid is next week. All right, so make sure you make a date with us. It's either you come through tonight and join us next week, whichever one you're able to join. Make sure you join in. It's a virtual business master class this evening. Okay, and the public lecture on Africa Beyond Aid, that's next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on our Webster campus behind Media Pharmacy in East Legon. Okay, but put in association with the office of the Diaspora Affairs and Office of the President. And, we're all looking forward to seeing everyone, come through.
And I would just want to mention that the event tonight, it's virtual, so you can join from your living room, you can join, or your sitting room, I guess we would say in Ghana, right? It's entitled The Economic Impact of the Russian-Ukraine War on African Business. So as we discussed this earlier, this is what we are experiencing, the world is experiencing, so it's important to tune in. So you can go on our website and look into it. You mentioned the public lecture in person next week and on Thursday, and that's going to be at 5:30. So both of these programs are at 5:30 in the evening. And then we also have a career fair that is also coming up on the 28th that's open to the public. So I suggest that we are active in social media.
Yeah, I was going to get
We're
to
on
that.
Instagram.
So the handles are?
Yes. So we have Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, at Webster Ghana. And so we suggest that you check us out online and on social media and see what we are up to.
All right, Mrs. Bobtoya, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For
This
spending
has
time
been
with
wonderful
us
with you.
I really enjoyed it too. I really
Rev
enjoyed
Erskine.
it. Yes. Now, before you go, any final words to our listeners, young people in particular, any piece of advice you have for all of us?
I just want to say be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, be focused, be determined, practice humility, practice integrity. All of these things are very important towards being successful. And I know that there's nothing that you can't achieve. I think for me and for many leaders, it's about keeping your eyes on the prize, dedication, hard work. I always tell people here that there's this expression, no food for lazy man.
No food for lazy man.
So what that means is we have to work hard. Nothing comes easily in life. So with work, dedication, and focus, the sky's the limit. And so, get a mentor, network, be engaged in your studies, and also in your civic duties, right? As global citizens. We are all global citizens. And so be present, and there's a lot that you can achieve. And I also hope that everyone will come over to Webster University and see what we are doing. And we love working with young people. So please, we would love to engage with you. And this has just been an honor. And I thank you so much for taking time with me to talk about my life story and my experience in higher education and international education. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. So this has been Wiley the Board Series with Mrs. Christa Elise Sanders Bobtoya. She's the director and or head of Webster University's Ghana campus. So thank you so much for staying with us. A big shout going out to Kyle Bank, Forward Together, MTN Ghana, everywhere you go. And of course, High Five Chukwuma, produced by Casa Preco. It is YFM. And of course, we're going to check out one of Mrs. Bobtoya's favorites is I Just Called to Say I Love You, by Stevie Wonder. Do enjoy.
No news.